everyone, my name is Jason from 12.6 and today I will talk to you about the poem Eurydice by Carol and Duffy. So I'll quickly give you an introduction, I'll talk a bit about the intertextuality, I'll give you insight on the theme and poetic devices, and I will finish with the objectives as well as the questions that I was asked by my classmates. So let's start with the introduction. The poem Eurydice, as I said, is a poem by Carol and Duffy, and throughout the whole poem, the author explores the nature of words, more specifically the language of men and their words, and how all of these words are understood by women. Basically, we have the main theme of gender roles in this poem. The author also undermines the mythical notion that Eurydice is a passive female who is being controlled by males' desires and whims, because Eurydice is from the Greek mythology. About the intertextuality, me and Kalina found intertextuality between our poem Eurydice with the poems Mrs. Midas and Queen Kong, both by Carol and Duffy. And in both of these poems, we can find the theme of forced separation, and also in Mrs. Midas, we can find the theme of flock of thought, which is also part of our poem to some extent. About the title, theme, and poetic devices, the title represents the name of the main protagonist, and as I said, it's related to Greek mythology. About the themes, three main themes we can find in this poem are gender roles, oppression, and forced separation. And when it comes to poetic devices, we can find repetition, hyperbole, enjambment, personification, and anecdote. And lastly, about the language, tone, and structure in this poem. The structure and the language are very important in creating the tone of the poem. The structure is varied and each stanza is a different length. The punctuation is also varied and this has a strong effect on the understanding of the poem. And the tone is quite controversial. Here we have our sources, and now I will go to the document with the annotations so I can answer the questions that I was asked by my classmates. So the first question I was asked, I'm quoting, what was the main theme in the poem and how is it exactly presented in the text? So this poem, as I just said, has a couple of themes, so we were quite unable to find exactly one specific theme, but one of the main themes, as I said, is the one about gender roles, and we can find it at few places in this poem. I'll show you one of these places. This is here, but the gods are like publishers, usually male. So here we can see that the author hints about the fact that the world is controlled by men, because as we can see the word gods, she compares gods to men and therefore men to gods. So this hints that the world is controlled by men, and basically if gods control the odds like publishers control what is written, basically male writings, and the author talks about how the world is unfair. And the other theme which we have in this poem can be seen here. So imagine me there, unavailable, out of this world. Basically this is the theme of oppression. The author, the narrator here with the word imagine, actually seeks sympathy from the audience and makes the audience feel closer to her and to her position. She kind of uses this in order to make connection with the audience by saying that she is unavailable and out of this world. She hints that she might be exhausted from the real world, and here out of this world can be considered as a metaphorical phrase because she cannot go out of the world. It is exiting the real world and entering the underworld, something wonderful, something different, something spectacular. So this was the answer to the first question, and the second question I was asked is how does the structure of the poem contribute to the development of the main theme? So in my opinion, this question is a bit broad because, as I previously discussed, the structure of the poem is varied and each stanza is a different length. So I believe that the author used this structure in order to make her poem easier to read and more free to interpret from readers. I believe that since it's not so organized, it allows for imagination and it makes the reader interpret it their own way. I think that it is related to the theme of oppression because the author actually kind of contrasts this theme by making it free verse. Because if the poem was, for example, every stanza the same length, it would be like the poem is oppressed. But here it's controversial because while the theme of oppression is quite prevalent in the poem, it is contrasted by the fact that the poem is so free written and easy to read and not so organized. So these were my answers to the questions my classmates gave me. I would like to thank you for your attention and see you at school on Monday. Goodbye.